I have not done this video in over 3 years, so I thought it was time to do a refreshed list of my 3 favorite products in every category. Categories being like primers, foundations, blushes, highlighters, etc. You get my drift. So I last did this in October of 2021. It is now January 2025. So I looked at my old video and I was not surprised to see a lot of products on there because they're going to be appearing in this video as well. But a lot of products I kind of forgot about, a lot of products have been discontinued. So let's jump right into it because this is going to be a very long video. We're going to start with primers. So the one primer that keeps showing up in all of these best of or all-time favorite videos is the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base. I have very, very dry skin. I am 51 years old, and anytime I can add a little bit of extra moisture to my skin, I take it. I take that opportunity. So this is not only very, very moisturizing, I find, but I do find it also very smoothing, which makes it a great primer for makeup. It really creates a wonderful canvas for foundation and concealers and all of that stuff to go on. It also has a very refreshing citrus scent, which I happen to enjoy. I know many of you do not like it. Many of you even find it sometimes very irritating to your skin. So I do just want to point that out. I have sensitive skin and it does not bother my skin at all. Of course, all of our skin is going to react differently to things. I love the texture of this product. It is a rich cream, but it doesn't sit on top of my skin. It has a kind of airiness to it. I wouldn't say it's whipped, but close. Like it has like a lightness to it. And I really like using it as the first step in my makeup routine. The second primer I wanted to talk about is the Chantecaille Ultra Sun Protection Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF 45 primer. Now, this primer I tried many, many, many years ago, and I still remember using it for the first time because a lot of things were surprising to me. First, the texture of this primer. It is very thin. I was not expecting that. I thought it was just going to come out like a lotion, like a cream, but it is actually very, very thin. And the other thing that caught me off guard was the odor of this product. Not the best odor, and I know I'm sharing all of the like bad things about this primer first, but I wanted to get them out of the way. But I do think over the years, because again, I have been using this a long time, I do think the odor is not quite as strong as at least the first tube that I got. Anyway, I just wanted to say all of that and get that out of the way to let you know that this primer leaves your skin so smooth. I love the smoothing effect, but not only does your skin feel smooth, but it will look really smooth and it'll look really, really filtered. So I love using this primer not only before the rest of my makeup, but on its own. And since it's an SPF 45, I think it's a really great sunscreen, but because it has that kind of filtered effect, it'll perfect your complexion very subtly. It's a really great, very unique product. Now, the next product on my list, I think kind of takes the place of some previous all-time favorite, previous top 3 product in this category. I have mentioned the Victoria Beckham Priming Moisturizer, and I've also mentioned the By Terry Brightening CC Serum. Both of those products, well, the Brightening CC Serum, I still love both of those products. Do not get me wrong. But the By Terry Brightening CC Serum really has quite a glow to it, which I have to be in the mood for. And the Victoria Beckham Priming Moisturizer has it's toned down compared to the By Terry, but there is a little bit of glow to it. And the product that made it onto my list this time around is the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Gold Face Tint. Now, this is a relatively new product, but I find this to achieve what I looked for or why I use the By Terry and the Victoria Beckham, but in a much more subtle way. So I don't know, maybe my tastes have changed. Maybe I'm refining my makeup look, but I'm enjoying this one because of its subtlety. It gives my skin a little bit of that glow that I really enjoy, that I got from the By Terry, that I got from the Victoria Beckham. But this one is just a little bit more mature, if you will. And I really enjoy using this as a first step. Again, I have very, very dry skin. So I like to start with something just a little bit more glowy, and it has a really wonderful texture. It's actually kind of similar to the Bobbi Brown. The Bobbi Brown I find to be like a little bit of a lighter kind of like whipped kind of texture. This texture is a little bit more pudding-like. So there's a smoothness to this as well. It does leave my skin feeling very, very smooth. I would not say that it is quite as filtering as this Chantecaille primer, but it does leave your skin very smooth and it gives it that really beautiful, subtle glow. Next, foundation. So again, I have very, very dry skin and I do prefer a light medium kind of coverage. So my all-time favorite, and this has appeared in so many videos, you guys are probably sick of me talking about this, but it's the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation. It has a very beautiful, light, buildable coverage, and I think what I find most appealing or most attractive about this particular foundation is the finish that you get. So you get this really beautiful, filtered, light refracting kind of finish. It is just stunning on the skin. It perfects your complexion without a lot of coverage. And I find that to be just like the perfect chef's kiss kind of combination. I don't like a mask-like appearance to my foundation. I really, really like my skin to kind of shine through a little bit, or at least give the illusion that it's shining through a little bit, even if I have something on that is sort of filtering out my imperfections. So I use shades 3 and 4, 3 more than 4 lately because I'm definitely getting paler and paler. But I just love the way my skin looks with this foundation. And generally, when I put foundation down, I find that I have to put a lot of other makeup down because foundation will just like erase everything on your skin and you end up looking very ghost-like. So then you have to go in with a little bit of blush. You have to go in with a little, you have to start bringing your features back out. And with this, if I go in with a really, really light hand, I don't feel like I have to. I feel like I can just kind of brush this on really lightly and it just evens out my skin tone. It perfects my complexion and it doesn't look heavy. And I can just go in with this product. So I love, love, love this Dewdrop foundation. Been an all-time favorite ever since it came out. And the next 2 foundations I wanted to talk about are new to this list. They both came out this past year, but I was so impressed with them. I thought they belonged in this video. So the first one is the Dior Forever Stick Foundation. I'm holding up shade 2N. I think I'm getting to the point where I need to start using 1.5N, but I do have 2N on my skin right now. I think maybe, can you see? It's just a little bit darker than my neck, which is okay. I just kind of bring it down, I blend it out or whatever, and it's fine. 2N is fine. I'm just mentioning all that in case you use me as a shade reference. But this stick foundation is phenomenal. Now, out of all of the foundations I'm going to be talking about, this one has the heaviest coverage. It's not heavy by far, but I would say it's definitely like light medium, buildable to a medium, but it just leaves my skin looking really plump, really healthy. It's not heavy looking, it's not heavy feeling, which is really important too. I really don't like feeling my makeup. And not only does the coverage last for a really long time, but the finish stays very consistent all day. And that's generally been an issue that I've had with stick foundations in the past, that over the day, while the coverage may remain the same, it doesn't fade away, it will start to look kind of greasy looking. And because I have dry skin, I look for stick foundations that are very moisturizing, if you will, or very emollient. And because of that, I just always thought, well, that's what's going to happen with these stick foundations. They're just going to get a little greasier looking as the day goes on. This foundation, not at all. It feels very emollient going on. It's so smooth. It goes on and blends out so quickly, yet not only does the coverage stay consistent, but the finish. So I love it. This is absolute perfection, especially if you're looking for a little bit more coverage. And then the last foundation I wanted to mention is the Seamless Skin Enhancing Tint from Lisa Eldridge. I have just fallen in love with this skin tint. I use T6. I also have T4. Again, maybe I'll be downshifting to T4 because I am getting paler and paler, but I am using T6. And this has a very thin consistency, actually much like the Surratt. They both have a thinner type consistency, which is so interesting because I never really liked thin consistencied foundations in the past. I've always liked ones that are creamier, ones that have like a lot of density to them. I don't know, I guess my tastes have changed because it doesn't bother me anymore. And this skin tint is so gorgeous. I love the coverage. It's definitely on the lighter side, but I would say it's a light medium. And it's just one of those products that just looks natural on your skin. It doesn't necessarily have like a filtering or anything like that. It's just a very simple, straightforward product where it does a little bit of coverage, it does a little bit of smoothing, it stays on all day. There's no like reapplication that I have to do. Again, I have dry skin and other makeup wears well over it. I just find it really easy. I can use a brush, I can use my fingers. It's become one of those like workhorse foundations for me where I feel like if I just don't know what else to put on and I just want something simple, I'm not doing anything fancy that day, I've been reaching for this skin tint. So I love it along with the Surratt and the Dior stick foundation. Now for concealers, I'm just gonna get this one out of the way because you all know I'm gonna say this one, but it's the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. I have the shade 2N, I have the shade 1.5N, same reason, I'm just getting paler and paler, but 2N generally works for me, and I love this concealer. Not only do I love the texture and the coverage, it has pretty, for a concealer, it has pretty decent coverage. I would say it's like medium high coverage for a concealer. But this concealer, because of its texture and the formula, it blends out so beautifully and so smoothly. It wears so wonderfully. It doesn't sink into fine lines or do anything strange, and it blends out beautifully that this is a concealer I reach for if I just want to wear concealer. I don't feel like putting down any foundation or anything like that. I just want to kind of like spot conceal, put it underneath my eyes, do something really quick. This is what I always reach for. And in fact, this is what I generally pack. So if I feel like I'm going on a trip that's very low maintenance, maybe I'm just hanging out with friends or something, I don't want to bring, you know, a foundation or anything fancy, I just throw this into the bag because I feel like it just does enough. I have a lot of discoloration along my jawline. I've got sunspots. I have discoloration around my eyes, and it just covers all of that. And I'll just blend it in with a brush, and it's so seamless. It's so incredible. It's just something really magical about this formula. So that is the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer. The other one that I really love is the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer. So much like the Dewdrop Foundation, this is just wonderful. It has a sponge tip applicator. Sorry, mine's disgusting. And I do use shades 3 and 4, but I've been using 3 more often lately. And it's just great. It has like a really lovely texture. It has really decent coverage, probably not as much as the Dior, but pretty decent coverage. And yeah, it just blends out like a dream, and it doesn't act funny. It doesn't start to look dry, which I find a lot of concealers do. It doesn't start to look dry, it doesn't cake up, it doesn't sink into fine lines. It's really just really impeccable and really easy to use. So that is number 2 on my list. And number 3, you guys, I'm sitting here with 2 in front of me, and I thought when I'm filming, I'm just gonna look down and I'm just gonna pick one. And I don't know if it's the newness that's kind of swaying me. Well, let me tell you what's in front of me and we'll decide. So I've got the Chanel Longwear Correct Concealer. I have it in the shade 20 Beige. And I also have the Westman Atelier, the Vital Skin Concealer. So this one is new. This one came out this past year. And this one I've been using forever. They're so different. They're so different. This is like gel based. It's very lightweight. It has decent coverage, not a ton, but decent coverage. It feels great on the skin. It's kind of like the Dior. It just, you know, blends out really nicely. It's easy. It's really easy. The Westman Atelier has a lot of coverage. I don't need a lot. It has a little bit of tackiness to it. You know what? As I'm talking, I'm going to go with the Westman Atelier. I am. I love the Chanel, but I'm going to go with the Westman Atelier because the older I get, the more concealer I need, especially around the eyes and especially my sunspots. So the Westman Atelier concealer, yeah, I just don't need a lot. It's really high coverage. It's probably the most high coverage out of the 3 I'm talking about. So this one I'd say is like a medium high, and this one I'd say is a medium. So I need about like 3 dots underneath my eyes. I just blend it out. I can blend it out with my finger. I can blend it out with a brush. There's a little bit of tackiness there, so it stays put. And it blends out really easily. It's just a phenomenal like oxymoron of a concealer because the coverage is so high, but it's not mask-like. It's tacky, but it blends out really easily. It's just incredible. I love the formula. It's really unique and really different. So I've been using shade M1, which is medium one, but I can also use L4, which is the deepest light shade. And they both work fine. And I guess it just depends what time of the year it is or what I'm going for. But I have been reaching for M1 a little bit more. I've been reaching for concealers that kind of match my skin tone versus concealers that really kind of like brighten my skin tone, although whatever. Anyway, I was going to say lately I've been doing brightening. Anyway, those are my concealer picks. Now for powders, this is a little bit tricky. So I've got one loose powder to talk about. And like I keep talking about, I'm just testing out a whole bunch of talc-free powders. And so, you know, maybe I'll add them to this list the next time I do this video. But for now, the one loose powder I want to talk about is the Koh Do Natural Lighting Powder. Now, I don't have it on my skin today. I do actually have a different powder that I'm testing out because I'm taking every opportunity I can to test out different powders. But the Koh Do Natural Lighting Powder is, I think, the perfect loose powder if you have dry skin. This may also be perfect for those of you with oily skin. I can't speak to that, I apologize. But for my dry skin, it is wonderful. So it is translucent. It does contain talc. I do want to mention that. And I'm going to do a swatch, but I don't think you're going to be able to tell a darn thing. It's right here. It's loose powder. So anyway, the reason why I like it is because it's a great powder in that it sets my makeup down. It brings excess shine down, but it leaves my skin looking really, really soft, and it gives it just the slightest, softest satin finish. It's just incredible. It's also very translucent. I don't feel like it adds any kind of pigmentation, whether lighter or deeper. It is the powder that I have been reaching for years. When I did this video more than 3 years ago, this is the powder that appeared there. I just repurchased it, so I have a brand new tub. I'm so excited. And I think what I love about it is what I dislike so much about the reformulations of the Guerlain and the Givenchy, which is it doesn't have any kind of overt glittery sparkly bits or whatever to give me that kind of soft satin shine. It's just incredibly smooth and incredibly soft and incredibly filtered looking. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. So that is my favorite loose powder. And I would present two others to you, but I'm testing out so many that I feel like I'll have to talk about it at a later time. Okay, so moving on to pressed powders. This appeared in my video that I did more than 3 years ago. That's the Sicily Phyto Poudre Compact Powder, and I use shade 2 Natural. And it was so funny. I was looking at this video that I did more than 3 years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. Yep, I still love it. It does a very similar job to the Koh Do in that it leaves my skin very satiny, very soft looking. And when I'm traveling or whatever, this is the powder that I pack. Obviously, I'm not going to, well, not obviously, but I don't prefer to travel with a giant tub of loose powder. It's just a little bit too messy for me. But this as a pressed powder is great. Great for touch-ups. It doesn't look heavy on the skin. It doesn't sit on top of my skin strangely. And again, it has that really, really soft kind of satin finish to it. You know, I'm saying soft satin, but I mean like in the softest way possible. It's almost like a demi matte. It just isn't matte, like completely matte and dry looking. And I love that. It just makes my skin look really, really soft. And much like the Koh Do, it does what a powder is supposed to do. It brings down excess shine. It sets my makeup, all of those things. So I love this one. The other pressed powder that I love is, it actually surprises me. I don't know why, but it surprises me. It is the Christian Louboutin Versatile All Over Face Powder. And I have the shade 15NC, which is Fair Nude. And I got it because I just wanted to try it. I really did not have very high expectations. I don't know why. Every other Louboutin makeup product I've tried, I've always been very, very happy with. The lip products, the eyeshadows, even the face palette that they came out with, really lovely. So I don't know why I had such low expectations or no expectations for this powder, but it is incredible. It is probably the softest feeling powder in the pan. And I've used quite a bit of this, and you just don't need that much product. It's very light. There is the teensiest bit of coverage if you go a little bit heavier. So it's not a powder that I would feel comfortable just sort of like applying and going in and applying. You will start to build up a little bit of pigmentation. You will start to build up a little bit of coverage. That's not what I'm looking for in my powders. I just wanted to set down my makeup, and I wanted to leave my skin looking, you know, healthy and soft. So if I go in lightly with this powder, incredible. Incredible. It is so, so beautiful. So I love this powder. If you are looking for a little bit of coverage, you may want to look into this powder. It's great. It's great. It's so finely milled, so, so soft. It's like a whisper on your skin. And then the third pressed powder I wanted to talk about, I don't actually have, I decluttered it because mine was too old, but it is the LYS pressed powder. I was so impressed with this pressed powder when I first tried it, and it really reminded me of the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder. It is finely milled. It has no coverage. It sets down my makeup. It is, I would say, probably the most straightforward powder out of the three that I've talked about. It doesn't even have like that much of like a satin sheen, but it doesn't leave my skin looking dry or anything. I just really like it because it's a very simple workhorse kind of powder. And I feel like I can recommend it to people with oily skin because it is just so straightforward. It's just a great basic kind of pressed powder. And I'm actually really enjoying their loose powder as well. So again, stay tuned for that. It is talc free. Okay. Moving on from powders, let's talk about contour. I was gonna clump contours and bronzers all together, but they really do different things, and so I decided to split it up. Anyway, I've got cream contours here. The first one is from Tom Ford, the Shade and Illuminate in Intensity 0.5. So I was ecstatic when they came out with the 0.5 because it was a little bit cooler toned than one. Obviously it was lighter, which suited my skin tone a little bit better. And this tone is really neutral. So when it comes to contours, we're looking for something cool toned. We want something that creates shadow, that is able to chisel out our features. We don't want anything too warm. We want something that sort of recedes. And so we want something cool toned. However, I think in real life, if you use something too cool toned, like let's just pretend something like just straight up gray, it looks a little odd in real life. So I've come to appreciate the cooler tone contours, but not too cool. And I find that about this one is that it's neutral. It's not like super cool toned. And the other two I'm going to talk about are even cooler toned, but this one is a great neutral one. If you feel like too cool of a contour is just a little bit too scary looking on your skin. I've also got Westman Atelier's Face Trace Contour Stick in Biscuit. Now this is cooler toned, you could probably see that. And when I'm looking for a cooler toned contour, especially if I'm like kind of comparing, it will look a little bit more pink versus a little bit more peach. And I feel like when I hold this up next to the Tom Ford looks a teensy bit peach, and this one looks a teensy bit pink, kind of in comparison. Anyway, this one is great because it is, of course, cool tone, but it's not too cool. I also love that it's in stick form because it just makes for really easy contour. I contour under my cheekbones the most, maybe on the sides of my nose, maybe around my forehead, and I just love the fact that it's in a stick. The formula is great. It blends out beautifully. I love it. No complaints. You guys have heard me talk about this product a gazillion times. A new stick contour came out this past year, and this is the Dior contour stick. And you can see it's even a little bit lighter than Biscuit from Westman Atelier. Can you guys see that even? I think you guys can see it. It's a little bit lighter. And so, like I keep talking about, I'm getting paler and paler. And so this has been a really, really great contour for me. Again, it's in stick form, so I just love it. It's so convenient and it blends out beautifully. Much like the foundation, it just blends out like a dream. I would say the Westman Atelier is probably a little bit drier than the Dior. So if you have oilier skin, you'll probably want to go for the Westman Atelier, but this one, I don't think would break up on oilier skin. It really wears very, very well all day. But this one is, I find to be just like a touch, a hair drier than the Dior. In any case, I love the tones of all of these. I love the way the Dior looks and blends out and performs and all of that. All of these products are incredible. All right, powder contour. You guys, I have fallen in love with the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow all over again. This was one of my all-time favorite products of hers. And I think one of the first products I purchased from her, it was either this or one of her nipple blushes. Anyway, I love this powder. Blends out beautifully. A great, great contour shade. You can see that it's cool, but not too cool. You know, it's got a little bit of neutrality in there. It's not going to look too scary in real life. And it's a pressed powder. It's easy to pick up. This is another like workhorse product easy to use, very straightforward, no surprises. And of course, I had to mention the Surratt Artistic Blush in Grisal. I have it in one of his palettes here, but this guy up here, isn't that, oh, it's just such a beautiful powder. So this is one of those shades. I wonder if you can see it. It has just a hint of pink. And if I hold it up next to the Charlotte Tilbury is just a hint warmer. It's closer to neutral, where this one, I think you can see, it's just a little bit more cooler toned. Anyway, this is incredible. It's an incredible, incredible contour. The artistic blushes, the artistic eyeshadows from Surratt are impeccable. The formula is just, oh, it's so, so good. And the formula that is used in here is this slurry process. So even though these are basically like a powder formula, they feel like they melt into your skin. So they just become so diffused upon application. Absolutely incredible. Just love the formula, and the shade is great. And last but not least, I feel like this is the OG. We've got the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder in light. And I remember they came out with this light a little bit later. I think they only had like one sculpting powder, and then they expanded the shade range, which was so fantastic, because I remember the OG shade of this was very dramatic, very dramatic looking, especially on my skin tone. Anyway, the light, so beautiful, really great, just pressed powder formula, blends out beautifully, great tone. I'm gonna hold it up next to the Surratt. So, gosh, it's so hard to tell, but the Surratt, this one, has a little bit, can you see it has a little bit more pink as an undertone? And the Kevyn Aucoin has a little bit, teensy bit more yellow as the undertone. So maybe this is a little bit better if you have more olive toned skin, and this is a little bit better if you have a cooler toned skin. But either works for my skin tone. I think when you just get so pale like me, anything pretty much works, so long as it's not too deep. But anyway, that's the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder. It's impeccable. Okay, and for bronzers, I'm going to talk about creams and powders together because I just simply didn't have enough. The one that I've talked about the most in terms of, you know, like my all-time favorite over the past few years is the Tom Ford Glow Bronzer in Terra, but that's been discontinued. Pretty much. I think you can still find it in certain retailers, but I don't see the inventory being replenished. And I mentioned the Chantecaille Goa when I did my all-time favorite luxury makeup during Mishmas, and a few of you, I think a couple of you at least, mentioned that that was limited edition, and we're probably going to see that go as well. I thought that was part of their regular line. In any case, if it is part of their regular line, I do love the Goa, but I'm not going to mention it in this video because I do want to mention products that are here to stay. If you watch this video in the future, you can still get these products. So the two powder bronzers I wanted to mention, this one kind of surprised me because I was going through my collection and I was like, you know what? I do really, really like this bronzer. And this is the one from Hermes. This is their Plein Air bronzer in 01 Totori. I just love it because it's so easy to use. It's perfectly peach. It works really well as a bronzer, not so much as a contour. And I mentioned this once before, but this is something I like to do on occasion. Because I have dry skin, I don't always powder my face. And so I'll go in with like, you know, just the Dior Forever Correct concealer, or I'll go in with foundation and concealer. And if I don't feel like I'm overly shiny or I'm feeling greasy or the makeup is too much, I just forego powdering. And what I'll do is I'll apply some blush, I'll do some highlight, and then at that point, I will just lightly dust bronzer all over my face. And that kind of acts like not only a bronzer, but a powder as well. Of course, with a powder bronzer, I'm not going to do that with a cream bronzer, with a powder bronzer. And this is perfect for that because it is very, very light. And I love that when it comes to bronzer. I don't like a really strong, heavy bronzer. And this is a matte bronzer, but it also doesn't look, you know, super drying or mattifying on my skin. It has a very nice kind of soft quality to it. And the other bronzer that I love that I actually have dusted all over my face today is this Guerlain Terracotta Light. And I have it in the shade 00. It is their Light Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to look for the full name. It is the Sun Kissed Healthy Glow Powder. And I've talked about this one a lot, and I think this one did appear in like an all-time favorites video. This is, much like their Hermes, it's light. So I feel like I can build up very, very slowly. I don't feel like I have to be super careful with it. I'm not going to look like too fake tanned when I apply this. It just goes on seamlessly. And they toned down the fragrance in at least this terracotta product, because I remember getting terracotta products years ago. Woo, you could smell it before you even open up the box. So I really appreciate that it's toned down, because I don't like a lot of fragrance in my makeup, if any at all. But this one's really beautiful. Very, very light, very, very natural. And if you just want just a little bit of, healthy color in your complexion, this is great. The Hermes is great, both of these. This one has a teensy bit of shimmer to it. So some of these, like the darker brown spots in here, have a little bit of a satin sheen, and actually same with the pinky peach spots. Those two spots have like a sheen to them, and I love that. I know most people love bronzers that are matte. I don't know. I like all face products to have like a little bit of a satin sheen to them. I just think it makes my skin look really healthy. So that is the Guerlain Terracotta Bronzer. And those are my two powder bronzer picks. The one cream bronzer that I really love, and I have this down actually as contour. I decided to use it as like a bronzer today. This is the Say Sun Melt Natural Cream Bronzer in Fair Bronze. So this is another line. They came out with like a group of shades first, and the lightest one was okay, but it was a little bit warm. And then they came out with this Fair Bronze, and I was like, yes. So this one is much more neutral. As you can see, I think you can use it as bronzer or contour. It's really great. The formula is great. It's not overly pigmented. It blends out beautifully, all the things. And I think it's perfectly, at least for my skin tone, it's perfectly neutral. There are a lot of bronzers out there that lean, for me, just way too warm, or they lean a little bit olive. I think that's the issue I have with the Laguna bronzer from NARS. It just ends up looking very muddy on my skin. So this has just a gorgeous, gorgeous neutral tone to it. All right, let's move into blushes. So I did divvy this out between cream and powder blushes. So let's go ahead and start with cream blushes. The Kjaer Weis cream blush is definitely one of my favorite cream blushes. The formula is just perfect. It goes on beautifully, blends out beautifully, it stays put. You can put it on over powder, under powder, all the things. And there is a huge, huge range of shades. This one happens to be Blossoming. Sorry, I'm missing the highlighter here. This is like one of the empty cheek palettes that I was putting product in. Anyway, this one is Blossoming. I believe this is like their most popular cream blush shade, and here is a swatch of that. It's just a really beautiful pinky, slightly peach kind of shade. There's no sheen to it, but it just looks really beautiful and flawless and diffused and like really well blended out as soon as you apply it. It just goes on like a dream. Absolutely gorgeous. I love, love, love this formula. And Kjaer Weis is an organic beauty brand. So if you love the idea of no preservatives or anything like that in your makeup, I'm sure you've already heard of Kjaer Weis, but if not, you definitely want to give it a shot. But her cream blushes, I would say that is the best product from this line. Absolutely impeccable. The other cream blush that I love, you guessed it, is the Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks blush stick, and my new favorite shade is Mimi. So I have been going strong with basically all the other ones. Petal I really love. I believe that's like their Blossoming for Kjaer Weis. Petal for Westman Atelier, that is, I think, their standout shade. It's very, very neutral. It's pink. It's gorgeous. Works on a pretty broad range of skin tones. And there's a ton of different shades in this line. But I just recently got Mimi, and I find this one to be, a little bit more neutral than Petal. Petal's pinker than this, and this is what I've been loving. Anyway, aside from the shades, I really love that it's in stick form. It's really easy to use with both your fingers or with a brush. Very creamy, stays put. It is just a touch drier or less emollient than the Kjaer Weis. So just to compare, here's the Mimi blended out. But it blends out out beautifully. And I do prefer like the stick form versus the pan form, just because I find it just a little bit easier to use, just by a hair. But anyway, this is number 2 on my list. Number 3 on my list is new from this past year, and these are the Chanel Cream to Powder blushes. So I decided to talk about these with the cream blushes. But these are fantastic. These are so easy to use, and I love the shades. This one is Rose Ardent, and then this one is Beige Eclatant. These are the 2 that I use the most. You guys have been hearing me talk about these blushes all year long, or at least since they were released. And they just have a beautiful finish. They have a little bit more of a satin finish versus both the Kjaer Weis and the Westman Atelier. Westman Atelier, by the way, they have one shade that has like a little sheen to it. I believe it's Minette. It's a very light peach and there's a little bit of a metallic sheen, but I believe that's the only one. Anyway, these have a very subtle, I think you can see it in the beige one more, very, very subtle kind of satin sheen, and they're just gorgeous. And you can use your fingers, you can use a brush, they apply beautifully, they stay put, just all the things that you want in a cream blush. They apply beautifully over makeup, they work well with other makeup, like they play nicely. Just gorgeous. So I love these Chanel cream blushes. As for powder blushes, we're going to start with what I have on my cheeks, which is the Laura Mercier Blush Infusion Color Blush. What's the whole name? Blush Color Infusion Blush in Fresco. And this is a long time love of mine. And I feel like I didn't see it at retailers for a really long time. I thought maybe it was discontinued, this particular shade. In fact, I may have mentioned that in my all-time luxury makeup, but this is actually still available on the Laura Mercier site. And I think I saw it pop up at Nordstrom. Anyway, maybe it's just popular and it keeps getting sold out. I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe this is still available. I don't see any signs that it's being discontinued. So the Fresco blush from Laura Mercier is one of my long time favorites. And I remember when she came out with this formula, it was so unique because it was just a pressed powder and the powder itself felt really hard in the pan, yet it wasn't difficult to pick up. It was just a really interesting, unique at the time, unique formula. And the Fresco really caught my eye because it is nude, slightly peach, and then there's some metallic shimmers in there. I love this product. It just goes on beautifully and I don't feel like it is overly pigmented. And I feel like whenever I go in with my brush, I just pick up the perfect amount. Like it's just an easy to use blush. This is definitely a blush I would recommend, at least a formula I would recommend to a beginner. And there are also a ton of shades in this particular line. And for me, Fresco happens to be my favorite, but I really love this formula. This is another blush you guys have heard me talk about quite a bit, the Dior Rouge Blush in Charnel. This is number 959, and it is a satin finish. It is not quite as shimmery as the Laura Mercier. And you can see it's a little bit pinker than the Laura Mercier. So the Laura Mercier is a little bit more peach. And I just love this formula and I just love this Charnel tone. It is one of those like chameleon type of tones. I feel like if I have a cool eyeshadow look, I can put this on. It kind of cools down. If I have a warm eyeshadow look or warm lipstick, I can put this on. It looks a little bit more peach. Like it really kind of goes with whatever other makeup you may have on. It's really quite versatile in that way. And the formula is wonderful. It's really easy to pick up with synthetic or natural haired brushes, just a really easy to use blush. So that is Charnel from Dior. And then last but not least, this appeared in my all-time favorite. This is the Lancome blush in Miel Glacé. I love this shade. This is the coolest out of the 3 that I just mentioned. It also has quite a cool tone sheen to it. It is less micro glittery than the Fresco. Not that the micro glitters in the Fresco show up, as you can see. It kind of brushes away, but you'll see micro glitters in the pan. This one just has a really smooth kind of highlighty kind of sheen. And this blush, if you want to forego the highlighter step, if you apply this blush, you'll already have like enough of a glow to your cheek that you won't feel like you need the highlight. So really gorgeous formula, really gorgeous shade. All right, we are just zooming along here. Let's talk about highlighters. So I've got cream and liquid highlighters. The first one I want to talk about is one that I just can't shut up about. I mean, it's appeared in my all-time and favorite and monthly favorites and blah, 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 very consistently. It is the Westman Atelier Lit Up Highlight Stick in Nectar. Now, I remember her coming out with this stick, and the first shade, I believe, it didn't have a shade name because it was the only one, but I think it's called Lit now, and it looks white in the tube. And that one has an iridescence to it, almost like unicorn skin. It'll kind of shift to like blues. It's very, very cool toned. And so I remember really liking that one. I loved the formula of it. It just felt emollient enough. It wasn't too much. It wasn't greasy or anything. But then she came out with Nectar, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is stunning. So same old formula in terms of texture, but the color has a little bit of peachiness, and the metallic shimmer to it is like a champagne gold. Not too yellow, but just a little bit warmer than Lit. And I really, really, really love, love, love this tone and this formula if I want a really glossy, sheer kind of highlight. One that's not too thick or too bright or too shiny. This is perfection. It's absolutely beautiful. You could just tap this basically wherever you want, just a little bit of glow, down your nose, center of your forehead, on your cheekbones, chin, like everywhere. It just works beautifully. So that is Westman Atelier's Lit Up Highlight Stick in Nectar. The next liquid highlighter I want you to mention is also from Westman Atelier. This is the liquid super loaded highlight, and I have Peau de Pêche. So there's 3 shades: Peau de Rosé, Peau de Pêche, and Peau de Soleil, which is more bronze. The Peau de Pêche is very cool toned. It's very rosy. The Peau de Pêche is a shade that I can wear on my face. So I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit here. And I do think that mine have gone off. So I purchased these when these first came out. And I remember these launched when I was actually in London in the summer of 2023. So yeah, it's been like a year and a half. And you know, liquid products don't stay around very long. Anyway, this does not smell very good, but you get the gist of this product. It is stunning. It will give you like dolphin skin. It's so smooth, and there's squalane in the formula, so it's very moisturizing. It gives you this really beautiful, like glossy shine. And if you guys remember, when I first got this product, I was in London and a makeup artist was helping me like apply them or whatever. And she had suggested using the Peau de Rosé, which is the lighter pink one, as a primer for the under eye, just to kind of brighten and wake things up. And I was with 2 girlfriends, and all of us were like, oh my God, we couldn't believe the difference that it made underneath our eyes. So you can use this in so many different ways as a regular old liquid highlighter. Just tap it on whenever you, apply your highlighter during your makeup routine. You can use it as sort of a primer. You can use the Peau de Rosé as like an under eye primer because it is so moisturizing and it's so smoothing. And the sheen to it is so slick. It's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So I love these, and I definitely have to repurchase these. I've got to toss these out and get some new ones. The other cream highlight I have is from Chanel. These are the Balm Essentiel, and I pulled out Moonlight Kiss because this happens to be my favorite. I don't know if this is limited edition, but I do also love Sculpting, which is a very misleading name because it's not like a contour stick, but it is a highlighter. And that one is just a little bit more subtle than Moonlight Kiss. But Moonlight Kiss has the most gorgeous sheen. It's actually very similar to Nectar, but I think it's a little bit brighter, a little bit more metallic, and the pigmentation to it has a little bit of a color shift to it where it goes from pink to peach, and the metallic sheen is a little bit more golden than the Nectar. In any case, it is actually, you can see it's very emollient. It goes on beautifully. I loved using this on my lips as well. It's just a gorgeous product. I love all of these Balm Essentiel sticks from Chanel, but Moonlight Kiss is my favorite shade, and Sculpting, which I think is the OG. Sculpting is a very close second. All right, moving on to my top 3 powder highlights. Now this one is relatively new, but I have it on today, and I just love the tone, the level of metallic sheen, like the level of brightness, I should say. It's just gorgeous. It's really, really bright. Powder highlights tend to be stronger than cream or liquid highlights, and this does not disappoint. If you're looking for a really, really bright highlight, look no further. This is really gorgeous, and it's so, so smooth. I think if you go in the daylight, you'll see like little teeny micro glitters in there, but it is incredibly smooth on the skin, and it is a baked gel powder formula, and it's a little bit cool toned. I think you can see like the rose kind of pink shade in there. What is the full name of this? So this is the Face and Eyes Illuminating Powder in 02 or Rose. I don't know if they're going to be coming out with more shades, but this one is gorgeous. If they do come out with another shade, I hope it's a little bit more peach. But anyway, this one is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I'm just looking back to the video that I made 3 years ago to see what I named as my favorite highlights, because I'm looking at the other two that I want to mention, and they're both relatively new to my collection. So what did I say in this video? Okay, so I have the Western Atelier Lit Up Highlight Stick in Nectar, and then I talk about the Burberry Fresh Glow Highlighter in Rose Gold, which is discontinued, long discontinued, and then the Laura Mercier Light Catcher powders. I do like those. Those are those loose powders that they marketed as like glowing, like setting powders. They're way too glowy as setting powders. I thought they were great highlighters, but I don't know. I think I've moved on from that because like a loose powder highlight is just, it's too much work when there's like such great highlighters that are in compacts. So, okay. The next highlighter I wanted to mention, you guys could probably have called this. This is the Hindash gradient highlighter in Doll Dynasty. You guys, this is probably, yes, this is by far actually the brightest highlight I'm going to be talking about. And this one has some micro glitters in there, but it is so beautiful on the skin. Look at that shine. If you want a bright highlight, this is it. This is the one for you. And I think that's how I've broken it up in my head. If I want a bright highlight, I go for a powder. If I want a subtle highlight, I go for a cream or a liquid. And this does not disappoint. So there's the Hermes, there's the Hindash. The Hermes, you can see it's deeper. The base of it is deeper, but the reflect is very similar. The Hindash I just think is a little bit brighter, but they're both a baked gel powder. In fact, all of the powder highlights I'm talking about are baked gel powder highlights. They just give off the best sheen, absolute best sheen. They don't look powdery at all. They just look wet and glossy and shiny and just, absolutely incredible. And the last one I want to talk about is from RMS. This one is the Prosecco Fizz, and it's the Redimension Hydra Dew Luminizer. I fell in love with her blushes in this formula. They didn't make the cut because the sheen on those blushes, I think, are, I love them, but I don't know that I can recommend them to like everyone out there. But in terms of a highlight, it is absolutely perfect. Let me just do a quick swatch of this. This is one of those powders that feels like velvet in the pan. It's so cool. You can see, actually, hopefully you can see that it's very bright, very smooth, very glossy. It's right here, but it's not quite as bright as the Hindash, the Hermes. It is a little bit more subtle, but it is definitely brighter than any of the cream or liquid highlights that I have. So these three, all-time favorite. They're just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So for brow products, I have three like basically different types of brow products here. I've got a brow gel, a brow pencil, and a brow wax. So brow gel, this has become my kind of like rediscovered favorite. I was loving this for a while. I want to say maybe last year or the year before. And then I was trying all these other ones and ones that were great, like the Persona Swipe Up Brow Gel, Billion Dollar Brows Brow Gel. That one is great too. But I really, really love this one. I've been using the shade Dark Brown, I believe. That's what I have in my eyebrows today. It just has like little fibers in there. It is controlling without being too stiff or crunchy, and the pigmentation is great. It's like just enough, but I don't look like I'm creating like a Groucho Marx eyebrow. So this is really great, really easy to use. I love the spoolie on here. It's a nice size. It's not too fluffy. It is nice and petite. So that is one. Another product that I love is the Jones Road Brow Pencil, mainly because the formula and the shade. Now, I was skeptical about using a chubby pencil for my brows because usually brow pencils are like microfine, you know, all the things you just want to create brow hair like strokes. But this is more of like a shading situation, which I really like, and I love this gray shade. It's nice and cool tone. It works perfectly, especially now that I'm pretty gray up here. It's nice to have like a cooler tone for my brows. So this is great. Formula is great. Color is great. And I really like the fact that it's a chubby pencil. At this point, I'm not trying necessarily, at least not every day, to make fine hair-like strokes for my brows. I just want to color in patches, and that's what this is perfect for. And my last product for this category is the Fluff Up Brow Wax from Benefit. I have really come to love and appreciate Benefit products. It's taken me a while to come around to them. I'm not the biggest fan of their packaging. I know, I'm so shallow, so shallow, but I love this brow wax. It is clear. It's almost like a texture spray for your brows in that it doesn't even necessarily hold my brows too much. It kind of keeps them under control. My brow hairs can be kind of unruly. So it does keep them under control, and it does help me sort of mold them a little bit, but there really isn't that much like staying power. There is obviously no pigmentation, so it's not like I'm coloring in anything, but there's something about this wax that just makes them fuller, and it's great because I've got long brow hairs, but they're kind of sparse. So I like being able to fluff them up with this Fluff Up Brow Wax. The wax basically thickens like each hair. It's different from like a typical brow gel. It's definitely very different from a pencil. So I really like what this does. It works differently to give some life and dimension to my brows. For my top 3 eyeshadows, I decided to pick one large palette, one mid-size palette, and one single. And this is going to be a very similar sort of redundant list from my all-time favorite luxury makeup list that I made during Mishmas. So for the large palette, it's the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. I love this palette. It's so good. It's beautifully like neutral to cool toned, which again, I'm really into these days. We've got all the different finishes from mattes to like really high shine metallics with some satins in there. And Natasha Denona formula is so easy to work with. I love her larger palettes because she's somehow able to combine all of these like 15 shades of different like tones and finishes, and they all work beautifully together. And I think she talks about how you can create like quads out of all of these shades, like depending on how they're placed, and like work in diagonals and stuff. Just really well thought out. I love the I Need a Nude palette. It's so good. The mid-size palette that I wanted to mention is this Quint from Dior. And again, very redundant from my all-time favorite makeup, but this is the soft cashmere from Dior. It's number 669 soft cashmere. Isn't that, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. This shade is so gorgeous. Let me just do swatches of these. And this is another one that I think has a really beautiful range of finishes. We've got a matte, we've got some satins in there that some are a little bit glowier, and then we've got that topper shade, which I'm sorry is hard to see, but it's like a really beautiful light pink topper shade. Just gorgeous. Again, kind of leaning cool tone, which I'm really loving. I've been talking about this Quint forever, but this shade is so gorgeous all by itself. It is very similar to that beige Mitza Cosmopolite shade. It doesn't have as much of a peach base to it, but it's the same idea, and it's absolutely stunning on its own. And then for singles, you guessed it, it is the Brun Talpa from Chanel. And this is fairly new. This came out when they basically relaunched these single shadows. These are the Ombre Essentiel. They're meant to be long wear shadows, which I can absolutely vouch for. These shadows do not fade, budge. There's no fallout, nothing. They apply beautifully, super smooth, absolutely gorgeous. If there's any shade that calls to you, I would highly recommend it because the formula is really impeccable. So Brun Talpa is just a beautifully minky, taupey, metallic shade. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love it. It's great as a one and done shadow. I think it goes from day to night really easily. It's just stunning. And if you're looking to divest from a lot of warm eyeshadows that you have, and you're maybe thinking about dipping your toe into the cool eyeshadow trend, maybe start with this one, because I think you'll just fall in love and you'll be able to like build from here. It's just beautiful. I love it so much. Okay, eyeliners. This was kind of tough. The Victoria Beckham, not so tough. This was a standout. And which one am I holding? I'm holding Cocoa. I have pretty much all of her shades. This eyeliner is so good. I mean, it goes on so easily, right? It's so soft, so pigmented, and it just sets. It sets beautifully. You have a little bit of time to smudge it out if you want to create kind of like a smoky eye with the eyeliner. But it's just wonderful. It sets, it never smudges. It's so, so good. I mean, I feel like she comes out with a new shade almost every month. So there's a ton of different shades. They're all really, really beautiful. And in fact, she just launched the shade Jean, which is like this really light blue shade. Not really for me, but I think with this whole like pastel eye shadow, eye look thing kind of coming into play for spring summer 2025, I think it's perfect for that. Anyway, I love these. These are a great formula, great shades, the whole thing. I also really love these Hourglass Voyeur liners. These are waterproof gel eyeliners. And this one, hold on, I'm looking for the name because I can't remember. But this one is the one that I love the most, Solstice. And oh, I didn't mention the Victoria Beckham you sharpen, and the Hourglass you actually twist up. So Solstice is a great brown with a gold sheen to it. Oh my God, it's so gorgeous. So, so gorgeous. And the formula, it's very similar to Victoria Beckham. It is very soft, very smooth, goes on my eyelid or on my waterlines really easily, and doesn't smudge. I just happen to really love this Solstice shade. It's really gorgeous. And another liner that I love for all of the same reasons, there's only so many things I can say about an eyeliner, is the Dior Show 24 Hours Stilo Intense Waterproof Liner. And I pulled out Pearly Silver because this is the one that I just used in my Mocha Mousse look. I wanted to keep my look really cool toned. And so I use this on my bottom waterline. Sometimes eyeliners don't necessarily go onto my waterline that very easily, but this one did. Here's Pearly Silver. Is that not gorgeous? Absolutely gorgeous. And I preferred this, strangely enough, I preferred this to that nude color that you use in your bottom waterline to kind of brighten up your eyes. I felt like this one was much more effective, and I don't know, it was just a little bit prettier. That nude color I feel like can go wrong really quickly, especially if it's not like the perfect tone. But this shade was a lot of fun. And this formula, yeah, it just whooped right onto my waterline really easily and stayed put, didn't smudge, didn't fade, nothing all day. It was wonderful. So this eyeliner is definitely top 3 favorite. All right, mascaras. This is going to be no surprise, but the Surratt Noir Lash Tint, that's what I have on my lashes today. This is such a good mascara. It is one of the few mascaras out there that can actually hold the curl to my lashes, because my lashes are so painfully straight and they so painfully grow downward that it's difficult. It is a tough job for mascara to keep these lashes curled, and this one does it. So there's only one shade, it's black, and this is the one that doesn't have a spoolie. It's just threaded at the end, and you just glide it up on your lashes. Very effective, really beautiful, and I feel like it coats each lash really, really well. But it has such a nice light touch, and we talked about this when we talked about my beauty trend predictions for 2025, that we're going to do like a lighter eye look. And this is perfect for that because it just enhances each lash without looking, you know, too clumpy or overly voluminous. So I love, love, love the Noir Lash Tint. This by far keeps my lashes curled the longest. Next would be the Lancome Lashy Doll Mascara. This also keeps my lashes curled, but probably not quite as long as the Surratt Noir Lash Tint. Like that lash tint, it is all day, every day. Doesn't matter if I'm having an 8-hour day or an 18-hour day, my lashes are curled. This will stay curled for the majority of the day, for sure. But by the end of the day, if I've had a long day especially, or if I've been running around a lot or whatever, my lashes will look a little bit sad at the end of the day. But for the most part, this does a great job. I do also like that this Lashy Doll Mascara does a really good job thickening my lashes a little bit more than this. So if I want a little bit more to my lashes, maybe I have a heavier smoky eye look going on, or I just have bolder eyeshadow on and I need my lashes to stand out a little bit more, I'll go for the Lashy Doll. So this is great in that regard. And the third mascara I wanted to mention, I actually don't have a tube of it because I've got all this other mascara open and I wanted to go through these mascaras before I opened up a new tube, but it is the Benefit Roller Lash. Whew. That I think more than the Surratt or the Lancome lengthens my lashes. So it does a great job like separating and all of that, and it does keep my lashes curled for most of the day. It's very similar to the Lancome, but it is very, very lengthening, and that is I think what I remember the most from the Benefit Roller Lash from the last time I used it. So this is great for curl. This is great if you don't like a ton of volume, you definitely don't like clumpy mascara. If you want just a little bit of volume, a little bit of curl, a little bit of lengthening, this is good. This is kind of like the Goldilocks of these mascaras. And then the Roller Lash does such a great job kind of separating and lengthening each lash. If that's what you're looking for, which I generally am also, it's great. It is absolutely great for that. So those are my top 3 mascaras. All right, for lip liners, this is one that I mentioned in my Mishmash videos, but this is the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in 600 Anywhere Caffeine, and I do have it on my lips today. So this lip liner, I would say, is like my workhorse lip liner. I just feel like it just works the way you would expect a lip liner to work. It goes on nicely. It's not especially slippy. It's like a colored pencil. It is like a colored pencil. It's very, very straightforward. And I love the shades that they came out with. All of these nude shades are great contouring shades. And I just really love the ease of use. I don't feel like they're patchy in any way. They definitely don't drag at all. Yeah, they're just exactly what you expect from a lip liner. Another lip liner that I love is from Natasha Denona. I love her lip liners. They're a little bit softer than the Makeup Forever ones. So they like have more of a gel. Actually, you can probably see there. They have more of a gel to them, and so they slip and slide a little bit more. And I love the shades of the Natasha Denona lip liners. They are very, very cool toned, or she has like a nice selection of cool tone lip liners. Not all of them obviously are cool toned, but this one is, what shade is this one? Ilona, number NP2. They're a little bit thicker and denser than the Makeup Forever, again, because I think there's like more of like a gel going on in there. But the shades are really beautiful. And if you like lip liners that just really like glide right on, these are, I think, better for you than the Makeup Forever. The Makeup Forever, while they don't drag, they don't have that slippiness to them. And last but not least is a lip liner that I don't have in my collection anymore, but this was the lip liner that had me fall in love with lip liners, and that's the Sisley lip liner. The consistency, I would say, is between these two, a little bit softer than this, not quite as glidey as this. It's a pencil that you sharpen, wood barrel, like just kind of a straight up pencil. But what I love, love, love about the Sisley is that it feels really soft. It doesn't drag at all. It's not too dense. It's like the Goldilocks of lip liners, but it sets down without being drying and doesn't budge. It's actually incredible. It's like the most incredible formula ever. And in fact, Risa over here at Risa Does Makeup, she's the one that introduced me to this lip liner. She's like, have you ever tried the Sisley lip liner? And I was like, no. And I never even thought to try the Sisley lip liner, but she recommended it to me, and man, was she right. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal lip liner. It just is like a little bit of everything. Like it glides on, but it's not too soft. The colors are really beautiful. It sets down completely so it doesn't budge, but it's not drying at all. Phenomenal. All right, let's do lips. So I was gonna do 3 lipsticks, 3 sheer kind of tinted balm type of lipsticks, and then 3 lip glosses. And I thought, you know what? Let's really hone in on my absolute favorites. And so we're just doing 3 in this category. We've got 1 lipstick, 1 sheer lipstick, and 1 lip gloss. I'm doing it. Okay. All right, let's start with the lipstick, and it's what I have on my lips today. And this is actually one that I have not used in a while, but I was going through my collection and I was like, oh yes, this is the one. This is the Clé de Peau lipstick in number 11 Triumphant Tawny. I think these came out last year. or the year before. Anyway, they redid their whole line, and I remember there was a shade, I believe it was called Cashmere. There was a shade in the previous line, and I was like, oh my God, please, please bring that back. This is the one that's the closest. I think Cashmere was even cooler than this, but this one is so beautiful. I love, love, love this formula for a cream lipstick. It is everything. Moisturizing, feels great on the lips, not super long lasting, but you know, stays put. I feel like if I just kind of tap, tap, tap after I have a meal, we're good to go again. It's just absolutely stunning. And this shade is so good. And if you like something a little bit warmer, number 10, I think will be for you. And if you want something a little bit deeper, a little bit more like rose toned on your lips, try number 12, which I remember is Power Mauve. But for me, this Triumphant Tawny, oh, yes, this is the one. So this is my favorite lipstick, my favorite tinted sheer kind of lip product is the Chanel Rouge Coco Flash in Boy. I think this appeared in my all-time favorites. So there's Triumphant Tawny. Sorry, I didn't swatch that before. And then here is Boy. So you can see it's very lightly pigmented compared to a straight up lipstick. So good. So, so good. It just gives your lips that little bit of a glossiness to them. Oh, that formula is incredible. I happen to really enjoy the Boy shade, but there's so many shades in this line that I love. It's really, really all about the formula. There's something so incredibly scrumptious and pillowy and glossy and just, oh, moisturizing, just everything about this. And it even gives your lips kind of like a light gloss kind of appearance, but it doesn't feel like that at all on your lips. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. So that is the Rouge Coco Flash in Boy. And then my lip gloss pick, you guys guessed it, it is the Chanel Rouge Coco Gloss in 804 Rose Naif. This did appear in the video that I did more than 3 years ago, so this is a long time favorite. I do mention this in my all-time favorite luxury makeup video as well. This, it's just good. What can I say? It's just really, really good. It goes with any kind of contouring lip pencil if you want to shade that in a little bit and then add this on top. Oof, you just get the fullest, most plump, healthy looking lips ever. And I love that kind of soft sheen that it has. Oh, it's absolutely phenomenal. I love this lip gloss. I will never not love this lip gloss. It is so good. I was about to recommend the Armani and I was like, no, wait. The Chanel, I love this. But the Chanel, this is the one. This will always be the one. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I have been talking forever. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what some of your like all-time favorites are down below in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.